This is my breakdown of what the people in Minneapolis were asking for and why they're not happy with what they got. Now, they were asking for a pay increase and they got 31 cents a minute, $1.28 a mile. I believe that's what they got. Now, they were thinking, hey, this is going to look pretty good on our paychecks now because we've been getting less than $1 a mile and they haven't been paying us anything for time. The tricky part is when they'll be getting that adjustment made and how much they're really getting of all these rides they're doing.
For rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft had been waiting for months for a pay increase that started in December.
But now that it's in place, it's not everything the workers were expecting. Brittany Ehrman explains the problems that they're seeing now.
Drivers expected to be paid this new rate every trip, but the policy says they'll be compensated every 2 weeks. Those drivers calling this new pay structure not transparent.
Okay, we sitting in 2024 and you're asking for transparency from Uber and Lyft. We already know that's never going to happen. What you got to do is think about getting as much money as you can from the rider. And we're not going to try to overcharge the riders or gouge the riders. No, we just saying get as much money out of the transaction that we think is fair. Transparent is never going to happen with these apps. So lose that. We'll never get a chance to audit them. They'll never tell us what exactly is on these 1099s they mailing us. So leave this whole transparency thing alone. The fact that they're going to be paying you every 2 weeks, that's a lot of room for error. That's a lot of room where they can finagle and mess around with the money. I'm going to show you a video at the end of this video about how they're finagling around with the numbers and how nothing's making sense when it comes to trying to audit them.
We're still struggling paying the rent, still struggling paying everything.
No disrespect for my man for getting on the camera. Took a lot of bravery. I appreciate that. But the media will always find somebody who has a really hard time to speak or there's something kind of off about it a little bit to make the situation lean more into the people who are against whoever they're presenting on the media. Now, they could have found somebody that spoke very well, very articulate, understood the whole situation, had a financial background, just happens to drive part-time or full-time, but they didn't. They found somebody just so the media, the public can go, oh, well, these people don't deserve that much money. This is not a $100,000 a year driver. Why does he deserve $2,000 a week? I mean, I work at my job. I speak better than him. I got it more together than him. He wants $2,000 a week. He wants $50 an hour. He can't even speak well. This is why the media does that. They strategically find people who have a hard time speaking and say, hey, man, speak for everybody. Nah, grab somebody more articulate the next time. Guaranteed. They're going to be like, why ain't they paying these drivers, man? These are a bunch of smart, educated people out there driving around. The media always tries to make us look bad.
A disappointing start for rideshare drivers to what was supposed to be a new beginning.
This is insane.
On December 1st, Uber and Lyft drivers in Minnesota were set to receive $1.28 per mile and 31 cents per minute. But workers were expecting to get paid that rate per ride right away.
And I get $7.05, but they get $7.88. You think that is a split?
Now, I like this guy. He's got it together, speaks very well. I'm glad they interviewed him. He's right. Because we're looking at splits, 70%, 30% splits, something that's more fair with what's being charged to the rider. Now, if they're only giving $1.28 a mile, 31 cents a minute, imagine the surge hitting. Imagine you only getting $1.28 a mile, 31 cents a minute. Now, every mile you go about 4 minutes. So you're going to, let's just say another $1.20. So you're getting about $2.50 per mile driven, $1.28 plus about another $1.20 something. So you're getting about $2.50. Now, if you're only getting $2.50 a mile, I do trips all the time that's 1 mile, but I'm getting $18, $24, $23 for going 1 mile. Now my pay will drop all the way down because it's only 1 mile. $2.50 is all I'm getting. So I'm going from $18, $25 all the way down to $2.50 because they can make that adjustment because they guaranteed that I'm only going to get $1.28 a mile, 31 cents a minute. Hey, Jeff just got an $18 a mile trip. So guess what? They've got to counter that and give me a whole bunch of crap trips or give me no adjustment at all. Now, they're going to stop pricing trips based on the percentage of 70% versus 30%. This guy's got it right. He's talking about the splits. What is the split? If you charge somebody $160 to leave the airport, how much of that $160 I'm getting? Oh, you're only going 10 miles. Wait, so you charge this person $16 a mile. You charge them $160, $16 a mile. And you telling me you're going to give me $1.28 a mile? and then 31 cents, basically $2.50 a mile. You charge them $16 a mile and you're going to give me $2.50 a mile. You're making $14 a mile just about on my back. The split is very important. The per mile per minute is not as important. That's important for me, a driver, as to choose whether or not I want to take this. But from a business partner standpoint, between a contractor and between Uber or Lyft, the split is very important. I'm glad they asked this guy because that kind of stood out to me right there.
The new policies show that minimum compensation will be paid out to drivers by calculating the minutes and miles driven in a 14-day period, not day to day.
We were completely misled about the language of this bill.
Drivers tell us they're concerned the new pay system will short workers money because each trip a customer books has different rates, which won't be considered in the long run.
And the different splits they're talking about, that's the surge rate. That's for events. That's for football games, for baseball games, festivals going on. That's what they're talking about. Because if you're telling me when there's no surge, everybody's paying just like whatever the base rate is, just going to and from work, this and that, I get it. But once the rates start going through the roof and we start getting surge amounts and everything, that should be taken into consideration. You've got to realize surging is when the riders are paying a lot more, which means the drivers should be getting a higher percentage. Now, what they're going to start doing is making sure that the riders still pay a lot more, but drivers are going to get a smaller percentage because they need to bring that minimum back into the equation. Hey, we're overpaying these people. We told them what the minimum was, give them a little bit more than the minimum so we don't have to give them an adjustment in 2 weeks. Or they say, since last week we paid you so much with all the surges, this week we're not going to pay you as much. Therefore, over the last 2 weeks, your adjustment means you made at least this much. Yeah, but last week I didn't make that. Well, you didn't have any surge last week, but the week before you did. This is how they run the scheme. That's the game.
The law requires that over 2 weeks we pay a certain amount for $1.20 or for each mile, and we pay a certain amount for each minute. And the drivers are guaranteed to make that. There is no question they will be making that.
In a phone interview with Uber, the spokesperson not denying some drivers could be paid less money with this system.
But with that system, there is a possibility that they could be losing money.
There's also a possibility they could be making significantly more money.
We reached out to Lyft. They pointed us to their website, which also outlines a similar pay system.
We did not get a pay raise. What the public got was a raise on their end.
Uber says riders can expect to see a 25% increase in those fares. The riders say they plan to go to the state capitol and talk about their issues with this bill. I did reach out to policymakers who backed this bill, but I have not heard back yet. In Minneapolis, Brittany Ehrman, 5 Eyewitness News.
So I think it's crazy that they're saying riders are going to have a 25% increase, perhaps across the board. Riders are going to have that increase, but drivers are not getting a 25% increase. What they're getting is shafted. Because like I showed you, if I'm getting $18 a mile, but you're not going to tell me, oh, guess what, Jeff, we're going to make sure you get $1.28 a mile and 31 cents a minute. We're going to make sure that. To me, that's a reduction in what I'm being paid.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to pay me.
And on top of that, they're not even doing the audit in real time. They're giving it all a 2-week latency period so they can finagle with the numbers and mess with everything. So you don't have any way to audit it or say, hey, I don't think these numbers are right. I don't think this trip is right. You can't say that. It's been a whole 14 days past and now you got this adjustment sitting there and you have no idea which trip or which series of trips or which week or which period this was even for. You're just sitting there like, man, I think I got underpaid, but I'm not 100% sure. And at Uber and Lyft, they're sitting there like, man, we made an extra $300 off this guy this week. How? A lot of adjustments, and we didn't give him any adjustments, and we put money here and we move money here. And as you can see, the news never interviewed him about where our tips go. They will talk about all this other stuff, but they won't interview him where our tips go. That should tell you something right there. I'm going back and forth with Lyft right now because as you can see today, I did 5 rides, no tips at all. Dude gave me a $20 cash tip on the very first ride, so I'm cool with that. No tips at all. So really I did 5 rides, 4 of them didn't tip. All right, go to the next one. Friday, I did 1 ride, 1 tip. Cool, no problem. You know, I didn't feel like driving that day anyways. I was doing other stuff. Thursday, I didn't drive at all. Wednesday, 1 ride, no tip. Cool. Now, as you can see, Monday, I did 2 rides. I got 2 tips. These are the rides I did. Where's my other tip? It only shows one tip. Now, I messaged them about this ride the night I did it, because this was the screwed up ride where it said I had $30.53, but then it said $18.23. And here it says $45.53 is what he paid, but I only got $18.23 with no tip. The dude specifically said he tipped once again. But so how did Lyft end up taking $19.07, $26 out of the ride, and I get 18? They stole my tip on that ride, because it clearly shows when you pull up on the screen, I got 2 tips that day. Where's my second tip? So I'm messaging Lyft right now. I'm actually in the message center right now with them, because I'm like, I'm not playing with them, man. I'm done with them. I'm tired of them playing this game with us all the time, saying, oh yeah, well, you know, the upfront is the upfront. No, it's something else. And now it says, okay, thanks for bringing this to our attention. Allow me a few minutes to check for you. Yeah, check. Because I sent him a message. I said, hey, this is what I told him right here. I said, both rides tipped that day, only one amount processed. So my tip never showed up for this ride. Rider said he was leaving a tip. Screen shows the tip was left for the ride, but no tip ever came through. So I showed him the ride at the top right here, just what I just showed y'all. And then I showed where the screen says that I got 2 tips out of 2 rides, but only 1 ride left for tip. So I said, no, this is the one I messaged y'all about that other day. You guys stole my tip, because how does the system say, hey, somebody left the tip? Are you guys manually maneuvering these numbers and putting these numbers in? Because why would it say I had 2 tips that day when both riders tipped me? Both of them said they tipped me and every, but I'm only seeing 1 tip amount. See, this is what they're doing to the system. They're getting caught. They're getting sloppy. I audited all my rides. They're getting sloppy. Now, all the rides I did tonight, I guarantee I got a tip on, but they're going to hold them for a few days, and I'm going to see $1. I'm going to see $2.99, $3.99. Cool, because I gave my number to everybody. Tonight, I gave a card to everybody. 100% of the people I drove tonight got a card. So, and 2 people are saying they hit me back. One lady actually works in Chandler, and she's got some business that she may have me do. So she's going to text me back, and I got her friend's business card. He's a real estate. So I got his number. He's a real estate agent. Got his card in my truck. So I can text him tomorrow, make sure we're all still going to meet up and do this business deal. But look at that, man. They out their damn mind. Yeah, so I'm waiting right now to see what support is going to say about my money. Because I'm waiting. Because they know that they screwed up. They say, wait a minute. He knows that he got a tip on that ride. He knows it. Because it says he got 2 tips that day. But we're only showing that he got 1 tip. Where did somebody slip? And you should have changed that 2 to a 1. You messed up. Because now he knows people are leaving tips and we're taking them. He knows it for a fact now. Because why in the hell would that say 2 tips up there? Imagine if you didn't do no rides all day. Says, man, look at this. Riders may add up the tip 72 hours after the ride's completed. No. Look like the rider has some processed tips on there. Oh no. That's not right. Here we go right here. I'm going to put it back on there again. Let's do like this. Says 2 tips. Shows 1 tip. So how are they gonna sit up there and say, oh yeah, well, it's not processing yet? They can add it up to 72 hours. If they have up to 72 hours to add it and he never added a tip, it would have not logged and said a tip was left on that ride. It wouldn't. I would do 2 rides and it would say 1 tip. It wouldn't say 2 rides and 2 tips. It wouldn't say 2 rides and no tips. If it said no tips, but yet we saw a green number on there, we'd be like, well, why does it say no tips? But I got a huge green number saying somebody left a tip. That would be weird to do a ride and it says you don't get a tip, but then it shows a green number with a tip. That would be weird. So why is it not weird that it says 2 rides, 2 tips, but I'm only showing 1 tip? This is how they're getting caught in their shit. And I'm like, y'all need to share these videos. We catching these liars. And all this shit's gonna go down. When it starts hitting the DOJ, when it starts hitting investigations, we start doing class action lawsuits and personal lawsuits, and I want auditing of all the records of every ride I've ever done on this damn app. I want the rider side and the driver side. I guarantee they're gonna be like, oh shit, we didn't give him a lot of his tips. He caught us red-handed. Because you can't tell me it does not say 2 rides and 2 tips, big as daylight right there. You can't tell me that. You can't gaslight me and say, oh yeah, I know it says 2 tips, but really it's 1. No, you ain't gaslight me like that. That's like saying if it said 2 rides, but it was only 1 ride on my screen. I'd be like, why does it say 2 rides and only did 1 ride today? I'd feel that was kind of weird. So I think it's kind of weird that it says 2 tips and only showing 1 tip. I think that shit's kind of weird. So I'm going to say something about it. Where's my money at?
You're going to pay me.
And that's a nice segue in today's sponsor of the video, PAX. PAX promises to have greater transparency, better fares for riders, and better pay for drivers. Cannot wait until this app takes off. I know you like my radio voice, but I will not be using this shit unless I'm speaking about PAX. They stand by the community because they stand by the drivers, you dusty mother. And I'd also like to take a minute to thank all of the support of this channel, all the 300 out there, all of the resistance out there. You guys are sending me super thanks. You guys are sending cash apps and Venmos and Zelles and doing everything you can possibly do to make sure that I got the time, effort, energy, and resources to come and drop content on this channel. I plan on spending a lot to build out another room here pretty soon because I want to make sure this year I would like to have drivers come into the studio and actually do content with me. I got to get other microphones. I got to get other chairs. I'm building out an entire another bedroom. This will be my personal studio in here, but I'm building out an entire new bedroom and I really want to do this for real. So I appreciate you guys for helping this dream come through. The podcast will survive. It will take off. They want to shut us down. They want to hold us down. They want to keep this information from hitting everybody. But I'm out here. I'm sticking up for drivers. I'm out here talking to attorneys and investors and developers. I'm doing whatever I can do. And if we can get this thing to pop and we can get this thing to spread, best believe me, I'm going to get it done because I believe in us and I believe in the 300. We the resistance. Let's go.
Back in the game, baby.
Had to wear my battle fatigues and blend with the trees, committing penalties. You ain't assembled with me. We the 300, a villain superhero, Angel Hall like De Niro, cigars like Puro. Celebrate the hating that we get, cause it's like that. Despite that, dislike that. You can put the pipe back, you jaded crack baby from the 80s, cause you tripping. Time keep on slipping, but I'm gonna keep on lifting all my people out of poverty with missions and assignments. 11-11 tatted, cause I stay in the alignment. I'm bringing all the smoke to your choke, cause I'm on one. I'm not done. I fear no man, do not run. The shit that you got is all the shit that I had. I've been up, now I'm on my landing pad like SpaceX.